Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's video or episode, depending on where you're watching / listening to this. You're either listening to this on the Goddess Life podcast or you're watching this on YouTube. Anyway, so hello, everybody. Before we get started, I do want to share a little update. If you don't follow me on Instagram, which you should, it's CheriseWilliams.xo. I recently was talking about how I am letting my natural hair grow out, grays and all. I'm 35 years old, but I noticed my first gray hair when I was 21. It was really only like one gray hair, but as I've gotten older, they've really started to come in. And I've been dyeing my hair since I was 13. So what is that, like over 20 years? I've been dyeing my hair, coloring my hair. And I decided I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to see what happens. And so far I'm loving it. It's really fun seeing like my natural color come in mixed with this like silvery gray color. It's kind of cool. I'm not sure how long this will last, if I'm going to be able to make it through growing my hair completely out, because I'm an impatient person, and I also really like to change up my hair color. I've had everything from platinum blonde, bright red, browns, black hair. Like I've had everything. So we'll see how long this lasts, but as of right now, I'm really digging it. So if and when I continue this process, I'll probably do another video or episode and kind of let you guys know what's going on with the hair. So just wanted to do that little update really quick. All right, so on to the topic for today. So this topic today is one that I'm sure I'll have some people disagreeing with me about, and that's okay. If you do disagree with me, like, let me know. Reach out to me, comment below or something. Let me know why you disagree with me. But this is just what I personally think, and I'm allowed to think what I think. So the topic is using like cheap and inexpensive items for spell work and for magic. And I've seen a lot of like people throwing some shade at others for using like Dollar Tree items for their spell work and their magic, basically saying like you're not a real witch if you're using like Dollar Tree items, or like what kind of phony, crappy person are you if you're using these inexpensive items, or like your magic won't work if you're using inexpensive items. And first of all, I want to say about that, like, damn, we get enough like hate directed towards each other in like regular life. Like, why is there always so much hate thrown around in like the spiritual and magical communities? I've noticed there's a lot of like people think that they're better than, I think, when it comes to like spiritual magical communities. And this isn't to say like the people who are speaking out against the frauds, because there are definitely fraudulent people within the spiritual and magical communities, which is a shame. There's people that take advantage of others, which is a shame. But there's like unnecessary hate thrown around, I think, sometimes with people who are either, number one, like just starting out and just learning, like cut some people some slack, you know, they're just learning, they're just branching out and trying these things. Of course, they're going to make mistakes, or maybe they're going to try something that doesn't necessarily work that well. You know, or sometimes what works for you may not work for somebody else. And that is true with spiritual and magical things as well. Like, yes, there are definitely guidelines and stuff to follow, and like kind of universal rules. And I use that in quotations, you know, and tried and true things that work. But at the end of the day, like, I don't care if for a million years people have been saying like this one particular crystal works for this one particular thing, or this one herb works for this only, but you find that for you personally, that crystal or that herb does something different, then by all means use that crystal or that herb in a way that works for you personally. That isn't to say that you should like throw out all of the information found in like books and, you know, from our elders who really know what they're doing, or people who have been practicing magic or spell work or different forms of spirituality for many more years than you and have a lot of more experience. Like, it's okay to listen to other people, but you also need to keep in mind to do what works for you. But so it just kind of drives me nuts that there's that like I don't know, like all of that kind of hate directed towards people unnecessarily, I think. And one of the things I've seen a lot of is, like I said, talking about you can't use, well, not necessarily that you can't use, but like you're crap if you use inexpensive items for magic and spell work. And I'm here to say that that is not true. We're going to use the example of cooking as it relates to spell work. So spell work and cooking, they're really kind of similar if you think about it. So both with spell work, if you're going to perform a spell or you're going to be cooking a recipe, you know, some spells have really intricate steps and ingredients and tools and items that you need to use and steps you need to take. And then the same with some recipes. Some recipes are really involved recipes and require all kinds of ingredients and steps and stuff. Likewise, there's some recipes that are pretty simple and there's some spells that are pretty simple. So, you know, it really depends on the type of result that you're looking for, the type of work you're looking for. Now, let's think about cooking. You know, if ideally, yes, you want to like kind of know what you're doing if you're going to cook a recipe, especially the more complicated the recipe is and the more steps there are. Ideally, you want to have some cooking experience. You know, you want some experience in that kitchen. You want to know how to use your tools and how to work with these ingredients and how this ingredient, you know, merges with this ingredient to bring out these flavors. Like you want to know your ingredients when you're cooking a recipe. And you want to follow usually like a recipe and a guideline and follow some steps and certain steps that you need to take in order to have that recipe be the best. And then also ideally, you want to use the best ingredients. You know, you want to use the freshest vegetables, the freshest fruit. You want to use high quality spices and herbs. You want to use really good ingredients. So if you have all of that together, the experience and the knowledge and really great high quality recipes, you're also cooking on like a super expensive stove and using really expensive kitchenware and everything. That's awesome. Like that's an ideal situation. You're going to have a delicious meal at the end of your time in the kitchen. It's kind of the same with spell work. You know, if you are really experienced and you really know the tools and the items that you're using in your spell and you've experienced it and you really know how to work with these items and these herbs and these ingredients, you know, and you're using really high quality herbs and incense and whatever else you're using, like that's ideal. And you're probably going to have some pretty awesome results. So that's really similar. So yeah, like obviously you would want to use the high quality stuff, but here's the thing. You can still make a pretty awesome meal using food and recipes, you know, or ingredients from like just the regular grocery store. It doesn't have to be organic ingredients. You can make a delicious meal using herbs and spices from the Dollar Tree. You know, you can make a delicious meal using noodles that you purchased at the Dollar Tree and a pot and a pan that you purchased at the Dollar Tree, because they got everything at the Dollar Tree, I'm telling you. You know, so if you know what you're doing and you're experienced in the kitchen, but all you have access to is items, grocery items, and utensils from the Dollar Tree, you're still going to be able to make a pretty good meal. Likewise, if you know what you're doing and you're, you know, and you're really experienced and all you have access to and all you can afford, because not everybody can afford high-end ingredients, you know, you can still use those herbs and those spices found at the Dollar Tree. You can use those candles found at the Dollar Tree. You can use, there's so many items that you can use for spell work at the Dollar Tree. You can still put all of those together and have awesome results with your spell work and your magic by using those less expensive ingredients. Just like you can technically have somebody who has really, like think about the people who go out, like they don't really know magic. They're not experienced with spell work. They're not really experienced with magic. They've read a few books. They've pinned some spells on Pinterest, you know, and so they go out and they buy the best of the best. They buy the best candles, the most expensive candles, the most expensive herbs and oils and crystals. If they don't know what they're doing, it doesn't matter if you have really expensive herbs and candles and crystals and the best of everything. If you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter. You're going to have crappy spell work results. The same with if you don't know what the hell you're doing in the kitchen and you buy fresh organic meat and, you know, whatever, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to cook a crappy meal. It doesn't matter if you're using the most high-end kitchen around with the best ingredients around. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be crap. Likewise, like I already said, you could know what you're doing and be using less expensive ingredients and still have something awesome at the end. So it drives me nuts. It's not, like, basically, if we think about these comparisons, it's the person behind it that it matters. It's the experience behind it, the person behind it, the intent behind it that matters. Whether it's cooking a recipe for food or doing spell work, it's the person behind the work that matters. So it drives me nuts when I see that, like, oh, Dollar Tree candles. Like, no, I mean, you can buy a freaking Dollar Tree candle and put all of your magic and intent and spell work and amazingness into that candle, and it's going to work just as good as a really expensive candle that you buy. Again, it's the work behind the magic. It's the intent behind the magic. It's the individual behind the magic. So if you're somebody that can't afford to go buy those high-end herbs and crystals and incense and whatever else, and you have to hit up the Dollar Tree for your supplies, that's okay. Don't feel bad. Don't feel crappy. You're not less of a witch. You're not less of a person because you have to use these less expensive options. It's okay. Now, on the other hand, if you can afford to get, you know, higher quality herbs and oils and crystals and items for your spell work and your magic, then yeah, it usually is pretty good to go for the higher end. And that's, I'm going to touch on that really quick. Like, well, why? What's the difference between, you know, herbs from the Dollar Tree versus like herbs that you grow yourself, or, you know, all natural organic herbs? I'm going to get into that in a second. But basically the point is, put your intent behind it, put your knowledge, put your expertise behind it. And it's okay if you have to use less expensive options, because not everybody has the money to just throw at high-end items for spell work and magic. Just like people don't have enough money to throw at like high-end food to eat like all natural, all organic, you know? Sometimes we have to go for the less expensive, high-quality option, and that's okay. You can still make something amazing with less expensive ingredients. I am going to touch really quick, like I said, on why if you can, it is a good idea to go for the higher quality. Because especially when I'm just going to talk now just about spell work and magic. You know, and cooking too, I guess, is energy. Everything is energy, but especially with spell work and magic, it's working with energy. You're working with different types of energies, combining them together. Basically combining energies to create a result that you want to have happen. And so when you're doing that, like I've always said, and some people will disagree with me, your intent and your mindset and your energy behind it is what matters. Everything else is just kind of like a bonus to help you create that intent and to manifest that that spell or that intention. But that being said, we'll use basil, for example. Basil purchased just the Dollar Tree is going to have a little bit of a different vibration than like basil that you grew yourself and put love and attention into, and you know, harvested the basil yourself and dried it yourself. That basil is going to have a much different energy. The same with if you purchased like organic basil from, you know, a company online. It's going to have a different energy than the basil that you buy at the Dollar Tree. It's probably going to vibrate at a higher at a higher frequency. Just like the basil that you would purchase that's organic versus the basil from the Dollar Tree that you would be eating, like there's more nutrients and stuff. There's more good stuff in the homegrown organic basil versus the not organic, maybe not grown so great quality basil from the Dollar Tree. It's going to taste different. It's going to have different nutrients for you. It's the same with the spell work. It's going to bring different energy into the spell work. And again, though, that's not to say that you can't do awesome spell work and amazing magic using the, you know, kind of the lower quality basil. You can still have awesome results because, again, why? It's the intent and the energy and the individual behind the magic that is what is really important. But yeah, so I love the spell work and the cooking example, because it really is, it's that, you know, the same with candles. If you're going to use a candle in a stove, that just came to my mind, you know, if you're going to cook on a really nice, high quality stove, you're probably going to have a little bit of an easier time making your meal. Your meal is probably going to end up a little bit more tasty than if my dog is sneezing in the background. You can hear that. Than if you were using like a crappy stove, you know, you might have a more difficult time getting the results that you want for your recipe. The same can be said with spellwork. So if you're using like a really nice, like hand poured beeswax candle, you know, you might have a little easier time working your magic with that candle versus like a, why can't I think of what the regular wax is called? Petroleum wax, you know, mass marketed candle. You may have to work that candle a little harder to get what you're wanting out of it. So I feel like now I'm kind of repeating myself. End of the day, to recap, it's okay if you have to use less expensive ingredients. If you can, spring for the more expensive ones. That's great. That's awesome. But what really, really, really matters is the experience, the intent, the energy, and the individual behind the magic. So go to the Dollar Tree and purchase your spell work items and your magical items if you need to. Go for it. Like, don't let anybody make you feel like crap if you have to go to the Dollar Tree to get your spell items. So that's all I got for you. I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.